Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I hope you're having an amazing day. It is Thursday, May 22nd, 2014, and we're going to continue with Esther Chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hathach, and one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know that it was, and why it was. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the streets in the city which was before the king's gate, and Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. Verse 9. And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spoke unto Hathach, and gave commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and all the king's providence do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king in the inner court, who is not called, there is one lot of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall there enlargement and deliverance arise in the Jews from other. Let's try that again, verse 14. For if thou together holdest thy peace at this time, then shall there enlargement and deliverance arise in the Jews from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. And the last verse for chapter 4, verse 17. So Mordecai went his way, and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. It's funny how you're put in a place, being woman or man, to do something, but you don't understand it until the time happens. Sometimes certain situations come about where you'll be put in the grace of somebody and not understand why you're there until a situation arises like this. Esther was placed in the king's graces. She was queen, so that when this came about, she could help her fellow Jews. Whether she be a woman or not, that was not the issue. Because back then, women had no place but to stand by what they were told. I mean, and it's true. They had no voice of their own. They weren't allowed to teach or to speak outside of their house, pretty much without their husband's consent. I think that's why so many women don't care for, the Old Testament values, and that's why they pushed for their self-preservance, because they wanted to do what they wanted to do regardless of what is proper. So many women pushed to have equality, but yet want to complain when a man doesn't hold a door open for him now. So many women pushed to be outside of the house, to work, and we wonder why the children are punks and hooligans and heathens. Yes, it's the time, and it's the season. So yes, all these things are to come to pass. Even back in the Old Testament days, there was those few women that stood out. Esther, Ruth, Sarai. They stood out because, one, either they didn't want to listen, or two, they were made to be examples. That yes, sometimes a woman can step up and speak unto her husband things of God, if the husband is wrong. And in this case, the king was wrong because he didn't get all the facts before he allowed the decree to go out. He didn't get all the details before he said, yeah, do what you need to do. He heard the money and was like, oh yeah, more money for us, woohoo. Sounds like a lot of churches these days, huh? The Lord put Esther in the place so that she could defend the Jews. She could stand up for her kinsmen, her fellow Jews, and not just let them get killed. I do like these two books, Ruth and Esther, because it shows, one, how a woman is supposed to be. Sorry, woman, if you like it or not. You're supposed to stand beside your husband, not rule over him. In fact, you're supposed to stand behind your husband for the most part. He is to be the head of the house, not you. And two, it does show that there are a few times when a woman is used for God's work, for God's will, for God's grand scheme, his great plan. And that is Esther chapter 4. For Thursday, May 22nd, 2014. Peace be in you, my brothers and sisters. May the Lord have mercy on us all. I love you guys so very much. God bless.